Josiane Nunes against Ramona Pascual.
Okay, I think I like Nunes.
Yeah.
She's good. She absolutely battered Bia Malecki as well.
Wrecked her.
Yeah.
I mean, like, it's very rare that you see a female fighter pack that kind of punch. Like, the only other female fighter that comes to mind when I watch her is Jessica Andrade.
Yeah.
Like, the way that she kind of moves. And the other thing as well, she reminds me of a guy I used to go to school with who we used to call Nick No Neck. Whenever he was wearing his school shirt, his collar, you know, those like rigid white collars on the shirts that we used to have when I used to wear a school tie. It was literally sitting right under his jawline there. And I've got to think, it's the same as what's his name, Yoel Romero, with him having his neck fused. You know that scar he's got down the back of his neck, so it's difficult to knock the dude out. I reckon she must have a physiological advantage of taking shots.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, like, she's standing up right there. When she was in the fight against Bia Malecki, like, her chin is naturally below her shoulders. That's got to be a benefit to you if you're fighting MMA.
Does it just restrict, so you're not that, you know, if you get hit, it's not like turning your head and you're not cutting off that blood supply. It's
the twisting and shaking of the brain, you know what I mean?
Right.
And like, I mean, with someone like Yoel Romero, who I don't know this for sure, but it does look like he's had some vertebrae in his neck fused, and then he's got those massive traps build up as well. Like, it's just difficult to hit him and make his head turn enough to shake his brain. And that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to twist or knock or whatever, like shake the brain in the skull. And her chin is always buried naturally. So even if you punch her, it's only going to move a little bit, and I think it's an advantage for sure. And I mean, she's stopped almost everyone that she's fought.
Yeah.
1 win by decision and 7 by knockout. Now, one thing I will say is Pascual is a good striker. I watched a couple of her fights. I think she was fighting in Road FC. I've not managed to find her Invicta ones, unfortunately.
No, I couldn't either.
I don't know where they are. Maybe Fight TV. I'll have to have a look. But she is a good striker. She's got a TED Talks as well. Have you seen that?
Who, Ramona?
Yeah.
No, I've not seen
that. She's got
that.
a TED Talks on... Hang on a minute, I'll tell you. It's about how fear optimizes human performance.
Right,
if I'm not mistaken.
There we go. I might check that out.
Yeah, why fear is our greatest asset in unblocking human potential. Well, let's hope she's afraid of Nunes, hey?
Yeah. I would be after that knockout against Bia, yeah.
That was a clean knockout, and she looked good all the way through that fight.
I liked she was using like a Superman punch to close distance as well. She was like jumping and forcing her way in. That was really cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, but is it like the taller fighter usually struggles a little bit against shorter fighters? Is it because they're like punching down?
I mean, a smaller fighter it's more difficult to predict what they're going to do, whether they're going to level change or whether they're going to dip to throw overhands. That's the main problem with shorter fighters. And you always know that they've got to get inside before they can start working. Now, 5'2" compared to 5'11", we don't have the reach for Pascual, but it's probably going to be... I mean, she has got quite broad shoulders and long arms. She might have a decent reach. But the concern is knowing whether they're going to level change or not. It was always my issue with shorter fighters. Like, if I'm fighting someone tall, for them to level change to get down to my legs out in the open, I've got to have my eyes closed for a good half second. So they really have to set it up, or they have to use takedowns in the clincher against the fence. But when you've got someone who's short, like I fought a guy who was 5'6" once, and every time I punched, I felt like he was touching my lead leg. And it's like, you're like, oh, you can't really get into your rhythm. And she has been held and controlled up against the fence a lot before, because people know that she's a striker. Now, one benefit is that she is a good Thai boxer, so she has got a good Thai clinch, and she will clamp onto her neck. And one downside in having a short neck is that she might be able to move her around a bit more instead of having that leeway to kind of, like if you're trying to pull Stefan Struve's neck around, there's a lot of movement there before you move his body. I know these are weird physiological things that I'm mentioning, but these are genuinely things that I think of when, like, as an example, we had one of our guys matched up in a fight the other day, and they sent me we couldn't find any video of the guy, so they sent me a photo so I could confirm him on his topology to make sure it was the right person. And I noticed scars. So I'm like, okay, I can see he's had a surgery there, and I can see he's had this and this. And so, you know what I mean? Like, there's always something to be read into. And
I guess it can highlight injuries as well, right? Or like targets to look out for. And Yeah.
Exactly. Like Cowboy has got that scar down his midsection from that. I think it was a motocross accident that he had. But he's never been the same taking shots to the midsection since, you know. And Terrence McKinney got that leg injury stoppage, and now he's fucked up his knee jumping off the fence. You just don't know. People battle with stuff all the way through their career. But anyway, just digressing a little bit there. I think Nunes is probably going to be able to close Pascual down based on the fact that she's got heavy hands and she's going to be able to level change at will if she wants to. And Pascual just doesn't want to be on the floor. I think that is going to be where her weakest part of her game is. And, you know, she's making her debut against someone that's coming off a knockout loss in their debut. Yeah. It's a rough one for her. It is. I think she's very skilled, and I think she's got some good finishing capability. I mean, she's got knees to the body in her last fight. She's got a key lock armbar on Icon fighting in the first round, TKO in the first round at 26 seconds. But none of the opponents that she's faced are like Josiane Nunes. I mean, literally 0-2, 0-0, 2-0 and she lost to her, 2-2 and she lost, 0-0, 4-5, 0-0, 2-0, and she won that fight. That's the only person that she's beaten with a winning record. And now she's fighting Josiane, who's 8-1.
Yeah,
I think she's gonna wreck her.
Yeah, same. I think Josiane's gonna, either get a knockout, which would be pretty cool, or just beat her over the distance.
Yeah. Her only loss on her record, Josiane Nunes, is her second pro fight, and that was to Tyler Santos.
Yeah,
I mean that says a lot.
What's Santos now is in our record, like.
Yeah, that was Santos's debut as well.
Yeah.
You just, honestly, you never know who you're fighting. You really never know. I always say this, someone made their debut against John Jones.
Yeah.
Someone didn't know that motherfucker was going to be the best
never
ever.
Seen again.
Right? Would you turn and run if Francis Ngannou got in when you're fighting you for your debut? You're like, I don't feel like this is a fair fight, yeah?
I'll just run away for 2 rounds and it'll get tired.
You know, there's an old Pride fight. And I always used to show people, because it used to make me laugh, how ridiculous Japanese MMA was at times. That was their thing. Like Pride used to make these wild matchups. They'd have good fights on between good fighters, but they'd also have some madness on it early on the card. And there was a guy who fought in the UFC very early on called, I think his name was Emmanuel Yarbrough, and he was listed at the time on the Guinness Book of Records as being the heaviest athlete in the world. He was 600 pounds. And they matched him up 600 pounds.
Jesus.
And they matched him up with a Japanese pro wrestler who was 165 pounds. And this poor guy ran around him and then changed direction and ran the opposite way. And then he got warned by the referee and shot in for a single leg.
Oh my god!
Shot him for a single leg. And the funniest thing about it was he got trapped underneath the guy, managed to wiggle his way out like he was like Jabba the Hutt had just sat on him, and then TKO'd the guy because he couldn't stand up. It was the weirdest fucking thing. The weirdest thing. But how did we get onto that tangent?
I was about who you're facing in your debut.
Oh yeah, you just never know.
Yeah, you never know.
I think Josiane Nunes is gonna win this.
Yeah, same here. Yeah.
Yeah. And I do wonder where Nick No-Neck is and who gave him that nickname. Poor guy. It was rather affectionately known, but I'm sure he didn't like it. I'd completely forgotten about him until I watched this fight. I'm like, she's got no neck.